So next is to determine the quantity for machine and equipment. How many machines are needed and how many equipments are needed for you to have the amount of production that you want to produce in a day. So first of all, you need to determine the planned rate of production per day. Your planned rate production, assuming your planned rate production per day will be 1000. Then you have once you have determined the planned rate of production per day, determine the standard production time per unit. Now based on this number here, planned rate of production per day can be seen based on the calculation that you've made earlier in your process planning. Okay, in the process planning calculation earlier was 70 units of sandwiches per day, if you remember that. Okay, so to determine the machines needed to produce, assuming that it's not sandwiches lah, okay, assuming that you were to produce a cake, okay, 70 units of cake per day, okay, for the planned machine. So the machine in question here would be oven. Okay, now you need to determine the machine productive time. Okay, so to calculate, you may calculate based on the operation hours. Okay, so your operation hours may involve the preparing of all the materials, the what do you call that, preparing the all materials, the ingredients needed. Okay, so to have a productive operation time, maybe you can just calculate based on 8 hours. Okay, 8 hours of working. Okay, 8 hours. So 8 hours, if you were to convert it into what do you call it, into minutes, it will be about 480 minutes, isn't it? 480 minutes. Okay, so minus your setting up time. So assuming that you were to set up your oven, it may require you to preheat the oven first. Okay, so setting up plus the preheating may come up to 30 minutes of setting up time, and to downtime will include, okay, the time when you have already completed using the oven, okay, may take up to 30 minutes plus the time that you have to clean the oven. So in total will be 60 minutes. Okay, minus 480 minutes, you'll get 420 minutes. Okay, and if you were to convert it back to hours, it will be 7 hours of productive time of your oven. The productive time for you to produce would be 7 hours. Okay, to faham ah? Alright, to produce 70 units of cakes, okay, you may need to have 7 hours, because to bake a cake maybe take up to 1 hour at most. Alright, so number of machines required. So how many machines are required if you were to have a planned rate of production per day? Okay, and you have to divide it with the machine productive time per day. Just now you already have the number. The machine productive time per day is 7 hours. Your planned rate production per day would be 70 units of what do you call that, cakes. Okay, and this will have to time by the standard production time, or standard production unit of cakes, assuming that in 1 hour you are able to produce about in 1 hour you are able to produce about 1 unit of cakes. So assuming 70 divided by 7, you need about 10 ovens. Okay, you need about 10 ovens. Alright, if you were to have, if this is your productive time, but if you want to have your productive, if it's your productive time plus packaging plus cooling and so on, it may take up to more than 1 hour. Okay, alright, so you have to calculate it based on the logic, okay, and sense that you put in when you want to calculate your number of machines that is required. So you may need about 20 machines also. Okay, alright, this calculation applies also in when you want to look for the number of workers as well. Okay, how many workers are needed. Alright, so for this case, maybe your standard production time, or maybe per unit, would be you can produce about 2 cakes in 1 hour, assuming 2 cakes in 1 hour. Preferably you use time lah. Okay, it's time, production time. Or maybe not by hours, you go by minutes. Okay, minutes. Sometimes you can bake cake faster at 30 minutes at most to be fully cooked. Okay, so give it about 40 minutes. Okay, 40 minutes. Okay, that will be about 0.02 hours. Okay, So 77, 7, times by 0. Okay, number of machine required 1 lah, at least 0.2. Okay, just try to make sense of the calculation. Okay, so in this case here, if the earlier example would be standard production time will be 1 hour. Okay, if it's 1 hour to produce about 70 units of cake, all right, and your machine productive time is 7, you need to have about how many? At least 10 machines, 10 ovens. Okay, simple as that. All right. Okay, next would be your manpower planning, the same thing. Okay, how many workers are required? Planned production per day, workers productive time per day. Remember, workers can have breaks in between. Okay, the same style of calculation, 8 hours of working. Okay, and they may have break in between, maybe at least 1 hour. Okay, at least 1 hour of break. All right, so the productive time would be about 7 hours. Okay, times by worker standard production time per unit. How many cakes are they able to make in 1 hour, or maybe in 40 minutes they're able to make about how many cakes, and so on. So try to make sense of this calculation right here. Okay, all right. Then the next part will be you have to do overheads requirement. What are overheads? Overheads refers to the requirements other than direct raw materials, materials that are not directly needed at that point of time, and direct labor and labor that is not needed at that point of time. For example, if you were to get part-time workers, or if you were to get indirect raw materials, okay, indirect raw materials, such as if you were to run a bakery earlier, I give the examples of bakery. Okay, for example, during festive season or special occasions like Valentine's Day, okay, you may need to have extra ingredients like chocolates, okay, more chocolates, okay, or extra ingredient like strawberries or flowers, okay, something that is needed for that particular occasion, so which is not part of your monthly purchases. Okay, so these are overhead requirements. At the same time, it could be your wages for your indirect labor, your part-time workers, okay, your insurance, your maintenance, and also your utilities. Utilities will be electricity, okay, and water. All right, so list it down, okay, put it in the form of table. Right, next will be the location plan. If you notice, you have already done this in your general plan, but this part of the plan, you need just to put the information on, okay, what are the factors that influence your choice of location here. Okay, all right, just by explaining it like this. Okay, you can just put elaborations, point form, and some short elaboration there. Okay, is it because of the labor supply, the transportation? Give details. And all right, it doesn't have to be long in essay format, but just a short elaboration. Okay, next would be the operation hours. You decide. Business hours is the time that you are open to your customers. Operation hours is the time that workers have to work. All right, okay, so you decide how long will you be open for your customers. Okay, read through the description. For service business, entrepreneur will have to state the business hours in terms of days and hours, such as like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Okay, and so on. All right, based on, and this is based on the suitability of and applicability of your business idea that you were going to propose, okay, for your project. Okay, then other things that you may need to list down in your operations plan will be the license, permits, and regulations needed when for you to run the business. For example, if you were to run a restaurant, what are the license needed? You may need to have typhoid injection for your workers, because when dealing with food, you have to have this injection. At the same time, you need to have the sijil pengendalian makanan. Okay, if it's in Sabah, you need to have that. All right, and then you need to have permit for parking. Okay, permit for parking if you were to run your store for or restaurant in a, what do you call it, in a shop house or blocks. Okay, you need to have the permit the halal permit, and so on. Okay, so list down what are the relevant permits needed for you to run your business. Okay, these are some examples, okay, that you can refer to. So do your search. Okay, you have to do your search. To run a restaurant, what are the permits needed? To run a boutique, what are the permits needed? Or what are the necessary vaccination or needed for workers, or so on. Or maybe if you were to hire an immigrant workers, what are the permits needed as well? Okay, all right. And lastly will be the budget part. Okay, in all plan, like I mentioned, in marketing plan ada budget, in operations plan this takes up most of the budget expenditure. Okay, because you are running your business, you will implement your project, you have to spend a lot on your operations. Okay, so this business need to estimate the budget for the operation activities. The same style also in the form of columns like this: fixed asset, monthly expenses, and other expenses. Okay, all right. Okay, next would be the implementation schedule. All right, involve sequencing and allotting time to all project activities. Basically, this is like a calendar, okay, and a guide to prepare you and to show what are the tasks that needs to be completed at that point of time, and how long does it need to be complete. All right, and this will show you investors, or you have proper project planning. You know how to plan your way to run this business. For example, to incorporate your business, it may take about 3 months. To apply for permits and license, you will have to allocate about 4 months. Search for business premise may take about 3 months. Renovation may take about 1 month. Procurement of machines, 3 months. Recruitment of laborers, 1 month. To install machines, 1 month. Launching of the one, okay, it goes until to the point that you open your business to your customers. Okay, so January, in this case, it takes about 6 months for this example for you to open up your business to the point of installation of machines. There could be more lah. Okay, this is just an example. Okay, all right, so we've reached the end of our lecture. Okay, this video lecture. So based on the instruction I gave you earlier, next week will be a live session to discuss the progress of your business plan, marketing plan, and also operations. Please make sure that you have all the budget listed down already. Make sense of the and try to make sense of the expenditure. Okay, remember, you are a startup. You're just starting up. At most, you try to reduce the costs involved in running your business, especially when you're just about to start your business. Okay, if you do have question, you can ask. Like I said, I will be giving a sample of the marketing plan sample calculation for market size, market share, and your sales forecast. How you need to go about it. You don't have to copy the thing that I gave you. You need to think. Okay, that is just an example. Okay, all right. So good luck. Okay, I hope to see progress. Yeah. Okay, next week. All right. Thank you, class. And if you have any question, as usual, you can post it up over iDiscuss, or you can just WhatsApp in the group WhatsApp, preferably. Okay, thank you.